Technology has evolved at a mind-blowing rate over the past century. In just a few generations, we've gone from flickering candlelight to quantum computing, AI, and deep space exploration. We can map the stars, split atoms, and access unlimited knowledge with a tap on a screen. By all accounts, we should be the most advanced civilization to ever exist. But let's not be so sure. We are still a Type 0 civilization on the Kardashev scale, barely scratching the surface of what's possible. We rely on fossil fuels, struggle to predict natural disasters, and still can't explain some of history's greatest engineering feats. But what if we told you that our dear ancestors may have understood things we still haven't figured out? From a computer that could predict celestial events to deadly heat ray weapons, here are 15 ancient technologies that shouldn't exist. Number 15. Archimedes Heat Ray. Archimedes wasn't just some guy scribbling equations in the sand. He was a mathematical genius, physicist, engineer, and all-around problem solver. And according to ancient accounts, he might have also been the first human to weaponize the sun. During the siege of Syracuse, from 214 to 212 BCE, Roman warships tried to breach the city's defenses. But legend has it that Archimedes had a wild card up his sleeve, a heat ray weapon made of huge bronze mirrors. By angling them just right, he supposedly focused the sun's rays onto foe ships, turning them into ashes. Sounds ridiculous? Maybe. But in 1973, Greek scientist Ioannis Sakas tested the concept with 70 polished mirrors, aiming sunlight at a replica Roman warship 50 meters away. The result? The ship burst into flames within seconds. Was it a real battlefield weapon or just ancient hype? We may never know. But if anyone could have pulled it off, it was Archimedes. Number 14. The Viking compass. The Vikings weren't just bearded warriors with cool helmets. They were master navigators. Long before compasses became a thing, they were sailing across the Atlantic, hitting Iceland, Greenland, and even North America. But how? Well, it was with the help of the Viking sun compass, also known as the Vegvisir. This thing wasn't just a spiritual symbol. Some believe it was a functional navigation tool that helped them stay on course even when the skies were overcast. The secret? Sunstones, a type of crystal that could polarize light and reveal the sun's position, even on cloudy days. Some theories suggest that the Vegvisir was a simplified version of this system, allowing Vikings to pinpoint the true north. Today, the Vegvisir remains a powerful Norse symbol, representing guidance and protection. Whether it was an actual compass or not, one thing is 100% sure. The Vikings didn't just guess their way across the ocean. Number 13. Stonehenge. Stonehenge is one of those places that makes you question everything. Built over 5,000 years ago, using 75 massive stones, some weighing over 50 tons, it stands as one of history's greatest engineering puzzles. How did ancient builders transport massive slabs of stone across 150 miles with no cranes, no wheels, and no modern tools? Theories range from log rollers to sleds greased with animal fat. Others suggest some kind of lost construction technique that we simply don't understand anymore. But moving the stones was just part of the magic. The real mystery is the precision. Stonehenge is perfectly aligned with the summer and winter solstices, meaning it likely functioned as an ancient observatory. It could have been used to predict eclipses, track celestial events, or mark the passage of time. To this day, thousands gather at Stonehenge for the summer solstice, just like people may have done thousands of years ago. Whatever its original purpose, one thing is certain: Stonehenge wasn't just randomly thrown together. Number 12. The non-rusting iron pillar of Delhi. Well, all know that as time passed, iron rust, but this one not. In an era where modern bridges corrode within decades, an iron pillar in Delhi has stood for over 1,000 years, without rusting. This 7.2-meter tall, 3,000-kilogram pillar, built during the reign of King Chandragupta II, around 400 CE, defies everything we know about metallurgy. Modern steel requires advanced coatings to prevent oxidation, yet this ancient structure has withstood monsoons, pollution, and over a millennium of exposure without deteriorating. Scientists discovered that the iron underwent a three-phase process, forming a protective layer of mesowite, an iron-oxygen compound that prevents rust. But here's the interesting part. This method was completely lost for centuries and wasn't rediscovered until the invention of stainless steel in 1913. How did ancient Indian metallurgists figure out something modern science only recently perfected? And if they had this level of knowledge over 1,000 years ago, what else did they know that we've forgotten? Number 11. The Baghdad Battery. In 1938, archaeologists unearthed a small, unassuming clay jar near Baghdad. What's inside? A copper cylinder, an iron rod, and evidence of an acidic residue. It might not look like much, but this 2,000-year-old artifact may have been the first battery in human history. The Baghdad Battery, well, they named it after all, is believed to date back to the Parthian or Sasanian empires between 150 BCE to 650 CE. Since its discovery, it has sparked heated debate. Was it used for electroplating? Could it have been an early form of medical electrotherapy? Or was it just an ordinary storage vessel with no electrical function at all? Modern experiments have shown that filling it with vinegar or lemon juice generates about 1 to 2 volts of electricity. Not much, but enough to suggest ancient civilizations may have been closer to discovering electricity than we thought. Whether it was a lost invention or a lucky accident, this find raises a good question. Just how advanced were ancient dudes, and what other discoveries have we overlooked? Number 10. The Rocks of Sacsayhuaman. At first glance, Sacsayhuaman looks like another ancient ruin in Peru. But step closer and you'll realize something isn't right. The stones, some weighing over 50 tons, are cut so perfectly that not even a razor blade can fit between them. Modern engineers struggle to explain how this was done. The stones weren't just stacked. They were carved into complex, interlocking shapes, as if they'd been softened like clay and molded into place. Some even have bent corners, which should be impossible with traditional stone-cutting techniques. Mainstream theories suggest the builders used stone hammers and chisels. But let's be real, that explanation feels incomplete. Other ancient sites, including Egyptian and Mayan structures, show similarly precise stonework, leading some to believe that a lost construction method was used across different civilizations. The Incas themselves believed Sacsayhuaman was built by the gods. Maybe they weren't too far off. Number 9. Greek fire. Greek fire wasn't just a weapon. It was medieval shock and awe, just like today's nuclear bombs. Made by Byzantine Greeks in the 7th century CE, this infernal liquid could burn on water, stick to ships, and turn enemy fleets into floating fireballs. The secret formula? Still unknown, but historians suspect a mix of naphtha, quicklime, sulfur, and other combustible compounds. What made Greek fire truly terrifying was its delivery system. It wasn't just thrown, it was sprayed under pressure from siphons, turning Byzantine warships into flamethrowers on the sea. If you were unlucky enough to be on the receiving end, there was no escape. Water made it worse, spreading the flames instead of extinguishing them. This wasn't just a medieval horror story. Modern napalm is essentially its direct descendant. The knowledge of Greek fire eventually disappeared, lost in time like so many ancient innovations. But one thing remains certain. Whoever created it understood chemistry far better than we give them credit for. Number 8. The magical Roman Technicolor Cup. The Lycurgus cup may look like just another fancy Roman goblet, but hold it up to the light, and suddenly, it changes color. from an earthy green to a glowing red, like some kind of ancient LED trick. Scientists in the 1990s finally figured out why. The glass is infused with gold and silver particles that are 1,000 times thinner than human hair. The Romans unknowingly discovered nanotechnology. The tiny metal flecks interact with light at a subatomic level, altering the way the cup appears depending on its surroundings. Even crazier? Some researchers believe it may have also changed color based on what liquid was poured into it, making it more advanced than some modern sensors. Essentially, this wasn't just a drinking cup. It was a masterpiece of science, optics, and craftsmanship, and proof that the Romans knew far more about materials than we ever gave them credit for. Number 7. Ancient China's massive drills and natural gas pipelines. Salt wasn't just a kitchen staple in the ancient world, it was as valuable as gold. The problem? Not everyone had access to salt water. So 3rd century BCE Chinese engineers got creative and invented massive drilling rigs to extract salt from deep underground. And when we say massive, we mean it. These weren't shovels and pickaxes, but giant bamboo drills with iron bits, capable of digging over 460 feet into the earth. But here's where things get wild. While drilling for salt, they accidentally tapped into methane pockets, creating what they called fire wells. Instead of running for their lives, they did something no one else had thought of. They built bamboo pipelines to transport natural gas over long distances. That's right. The Chinese were transporting natural gas through pipelines over 2,000 years ago. They even used it to heat water for salt production, effectively inventing the first gas-powered industry. Modern natural gas pipelines, the ancient Chinese did it first. Number 6. The ancient Greeks built programmable robots. Ancient Greece gave us democracy, philosophy, and, apparently, programmable robots. Enter Heron of Alexandria, a 1st century CE engineer and inventor who didn't just dream up wild machines, he built them. One of his craziest inventions? A 3-wheeled cart that could move on its own, powered by a system of timed pulleys and counterweights. Adjusting the placement of the strings changed its movements, meaning it could be programmed to follow a set path, just like modern robots. This wasn't some rickety toy. It was a mechanical wonder centuries ahead of its time. Heron also built automatic doors, coin-operated vending machines, and even a working steam engine, which, for some reason, the Greeks never used for transportation. Had history played out differently, we might have had an industrial revolution in ancient Greece. But instead, these brilliant inventions were forgotten for centuries. Today, Heron's programmable cart is recognized as one of the earliest examples of robotic engineering. Number 5. The 500,000-year-old spark plug. In 1961, 3 rock hunters cracked open a geode in Olancha, California, expecting to find crystals. Instead, they found something way weirder, a spark plug encased in stone. One of the discoverers, Virginia Maxey, claimed that a geologist examined the surrounding material and estimated it was 500,000 years old. That was long before humans were supposed to have mastered fire, let alone mechanical engineering. But here's where things get murky. The spark plug disappeared before proper testing could be done, and the geologist was never identified. Skeptics argue it was just a modern spark plug covered in fast-forming mineral deposits, while others insist it could be proof of a lost civilization or ancient tech. With no artifact left to study, the mystery remains buried, both literally and figuratively. Number 4. Roman concrete. Ancient Rome didn't just build empires, it built structures that have lasted over 2,000 years, while modern concrete barely survives a century. The Colosseum, Pantheon, and aqueducts still stand strong, defying time, earthquakes, and erosion. Meanwhile, our roads crack within decades. So, what was their secret? Roman concrete was mixed with volcanic ash, which reacts with water to create a self-healing process. Instead of breaking down, it gets stronger over time. Scientists have tried reverse engineering the formula, but no modern concrete matches its durability. How did the Romans crack the chemistry of ultra-resilient concrete with no modern labs? That remains a mystery. What's clear is that their method worked. Maybe it's time we stop reinventing the wheel and start learning from the ancient world's greatest engineers. Number 3. The Antikythera mechanism. Discovered in 1901 in a shipwreck off the coast of Antikythera, this 2,000-year-old device shattered everything we thought we knew about ancient tech. Dubbed the first analog computer, the Antikythera mechanism was built by the ancient Greeks around 100 BCE, and its complexity wasn't matched until medieval clockwork nearly 1,500 years later. With at least 30 intricate bronze gears, the mechanism could predict eclipses, track planetary positions, and even set the dates for the Olympic Games. It used an advanced system of epicyclic gearing to mimic the irregular orbit of the moon, a level of mechanical precision unheard of for its time. For centuries, historians assumed complex machines like this didn't exist in antiquity. But this device proves that Greek engineers had mastered sophisticated mechanical computing, long before modern science even dreamed of it. What other lost technologies did they create? Well, only God knows. Number 2. Ancient model aircraft. It's a plane, no it's a train, no stupids it's a Superman. In 1898, archaeologists found a small 6-inch wooden object buried in an ancient Egyptian tomb in Saqqara. At first, they dismissed it as a bird figurine until they looked closer. This wasn't just some decorative carving. It had a fuselage, wings, and even a stabilizing tail, looking suspiciously like a modern glider. And here's the kicker. When scientists tested replicas, they found that with slight adjustments, it could actually glide. The Saqqara bird isn't the only one. Similar gold figurines resembling delta-wing aircraft have been found in Central America. Could these be early experiments with aerodynamics? Mainstream historians chalk them up to symbolism or religious artifacts. But it's hard to ignore the striking resemblance to modern planes. Maybe ancient civilizations understood flight better than we think, or maybe we've been underestimating their ingenuity all along. Number 1. The Great Pyramids of Giza. The Great Pyramid of Giza isn't just an architectural marvel, it's a mathematical enigma. Built over 4,500 years ago, its construction continues to baffle engineers and historians alike. How did a civilization with no cranes, no advanced tools, and supposedly no brains in astronomy create something so precise? Forget the sheer size, it's the precision that's mind-blowing. The pyramids are aligned to true north within 1/15 of a degree, more accurately than most modern buildings. Their layout mirrors Orion's belt, and the Great Pyramid itself sits at the exact intersection of Earth's landmass center lines. Coincidence? Maybe. But then there's the math. The perimeter of the pyramid relates to the sun's radius, and its weight corresponds to Earth's mass. Mainstream historians chalk it up to brute force, thousands of laborers, and basic copper tools. But let's be honest, something doesn't add up. Whether it was lost knowledge, advanced engineering, or something alien-made, the pyramids remain one of history's greatest riddles. If you enjoyed this video, like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you soon.